Okay, let's talk a little bit more about Earthbound. It's been a few days since I've beat it, and it's been stewing in my brain for a while. And I really think it's a game that deserves a bit more of an analytical approach, just to talk about it, because it's really, really that great of a game that it deserves to be thought on in something a little bit more complex way than it's super good, which it is, but there's more to it than that. The strongest thing I feel in looking at the game that it has is how it represents and shows the bonds between people, particularly that between a parent and their child, and between friends as children, friendships between children. Using the four main characters that you have in your team: Ness, Paula, Jeff, and Pooh, and Pokey. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of them and kind of how they represent these, kind of just talk about the characters and why they're good characters and these relationships they have that I find the game shows off really great. We'll start with the main character, Ness, the hero of the story, who is probably one of the kindest human beings ever imagined. Someone that is worth striving to be. Part of it, I think, has to do with the fact that he is a child, and children play a big role in Earthbound, whereas all the adults are kind of side characters. Really, the most important adult in the story is Dr. Andonuts in terms of plot. So, there's one. Compared to all the kids that help you, like Apple Kid, Pokey even is more important than a lot of the adults, so that has a lot to do with it. But what's great about Ness is just, again, how kind he is and great he is. And he has probably two of the strongest moments in the games, which are spoilers. If you didn't know that already, I will spoil things for you. But towards the end of the game, when you receive the last sound for the sound stone at the fire geyser, Ness has a kind of out-of-body experience, just a weird vision of him visiting himself as a child, as a baby. And I think it's probably the greatest way to portray humility, the humility of a character, just them being there to see and recognize the fact that at one point they were a baby. They are no different than anyone else, and Ness gets that. And that's, again, part of why he's such a great character, is he treats everyone equally, basically. Even Pokey in Magic Hand, the illusion world in Ness's head, there's a vision of Pokey there who really just wants to be Ness's friend, and Ness, you can tell Ness has no problem with being his friend, but it's just in his head. The reality is a bit more sad. The other moment comes in dealing with his parents. Ness's mother and father throughout the game are kind of used for a lot of humor throughout the game. The fact that you never see Ness's dad, he's always working, and whenever you call Ness's mother, she's always supportive and kind, but then she's like, oh wait, I'm in the middle of something, I'll talk to you later, bye honey, and it's usually something silly. But at the end of the game, the final showdown with Gygas, the very last stage where you can do nothing but have Paula pray. There's the Mr. Saturns, the Runaway Five, the people of Dalam, Jeff's schoolmates in Winters, Paula's family, Frankie, and then Ness's family. Ness's family being the last one before the final prayer for the player. But Ness's family is such a strong one, just the fact that his mother really does care about him despite the humor they throw at the game. They really get across how much she cares about her son. And that's really, really a strong element in why Ness is so great, is has a loving family, he's a caring individual himself, and just the relationships he has with everyone is so strong, and it just makes him such a great character. Now let's contrast that with Pokey, who, as I said in my first video, I hate, and I still hate, but I'm a little more understanding of him that I've thought on it, and he's really more of a tragic character. And that you can tell he was probably the kind of kid who got picked on a lot and had few, if no friends, beyond Ness. And so the fact that he was so easily influenced by Gygas shows how insecure he was to be influenced to the extent that he was, that he's the last real supporter Gygas has on Earth. But just, it's kind of like Ness is willing to be his friend, but Poki's so insecure in what he's done so far against Ness that he can't turn back. At least he feels he can't turn back, that Ness won't give him another chance. It's really kind of depressing. And on top of that, his relationship with his parents is awful. His father, Aloysius, is a horrible father. His mother's not much better, but his dad just... child abuse very early on in the game. Not that cool. But, anyways, just the fact that he was, contrast to Ness, he was raised horribly, had no friends, is suspicious of everyone, is really depressing that he turned out to be such a despicable person when Ness turned out so great. I think they're definitely the two key figures of the game, are Ness and Poki. But then you also have Ness's three companions, Paula, Jeff, and Pooh. And, well, they also have their strong moments, and they're not bad characters either. Not quite as strong as Ness and Poki, but we'll go over them too. Paula's a really great character in that, probably second only to Ness in how good of a person she is. She always believes the best in people and is always able to pull it out. Best example being in Forside with Monotole. She is kidnapped by him, but when Ness and Jeff come to rescue her, she's like, oh wait, it's okay, he's apologized, it's all the corruption of Gygas and the evil statue that you had to destroy. And then Poki ends up screwing over, but that's beside the point. But Paula is just such a good, kind person, and she also has a pretty good relationship with her parents, though her father is a little overprotective, and her mother seems to not quite be all there at times, but they do care about her deeply. And again, second only to Ness in how good and strong of a character she is, and that's why I think a lot of people think that in the end, she wants to say she loves Ness because they would get along so well together, but she's shy. Then Jeff is also a great character in that, while he's also kind of shy, and he's kind of a coward and a wimp, and at his father's admission, he still kind of wets the bed. But he cares a lot, and he wants to do good, and he wants friends, and he's trying, which is, again, really good. That shows that even though his relationship with his father, Dr. Enonitz, isn't the best one, when he first encounters him, he's like, oh, I haven't seen you in 10 years, son. You could tell he's trying to be a good father, but he doesn't quite know what it means to be a good father, but he's trying, and he does care about his son. Even at the end of the game, when he's sending Ness off, he knows Ness is Ness is the important one, but he still puts a lot of emphasis on his son, Jeff, when he's helping them at the end, because he cares about his son. And then there's Pooh, who is probably the weakest of the 5 children, who I think was just mostly added as an extra character. The most I can say about him is he's kind of another kind of contrast to Ness, whereas Ness is still very open and friendly and kind. Pooh is also kind, but he's become more serious. Now, he's a little older than the other 3 of the main group, but he's more serious and not as open to others, as you can kind of tell when you talk to some of the citizens who, some of the younger citizens of Dalam, like, oh, I wish Prince Pooh would come around and play with us again and all that, and that he was very kind to his citizens when he was a young boy, but now that he's older, he feels it's changed, and so he's not quite the same as Ness, even though he may be better in some regards. But yeah, the 5 children are really, really great characters, despite the dialogue and everything about the game kind of trying to have a silly tone throughout most of it. They do have their serious moments, and they are strong characters. And I really think that's probably the strongest one of the strongest parts of the game, from this analytical viewpoint at least. Everything else about the game is also still great. The story, the design, the characters, the music, gameplay, all that is still great. But yeah, love the characters. Easily the best part, particularly the relationships they have between each other and how they represent what is an ideal relationship between childhood friends and parents and what is not. Anyways, I've thought about Earthbound to death by this point, and I'm probably going to keep thinking about it, but I think those are my pretty solid conclusions.